very difficult to go full throttle on a road like this, except I will here.
Right.
Hey folks, today's video is brought to you by BetterHelp. And if you listen to the Smoking Tire podcast, you know that I spend a lot of time talking about mental health, mainly my own. Maybe you feel the same way. Maybe you're anxious like me. You feel stressed out, overwhelmed. Maybe you feel depressed. Well, BetterHelp is here to help. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained in a whole variety of specialties to listen and to help you. You can talk to therapists in a private online environment. It's secure, and it happens at your convenience. There's a broad range of expertise at BetterHelp, and they've got 20,000 or more therapists in their network to give you access to help that you may not be able to get in your hometown or on a normal schedule that works for you. That's why BetterHelp is so great. You just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. You can schedule secure video chat, you can schedule telephone chat, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you need. It's all completely confidential. So I've, in therapy, figured out how to calm my brain down because it's crazy. I try not to beat myself up for my imperfections, which are many. I try not to dwell on them. I try to appreciate people who love me, and it's really helped me find a good balance. I'm a big, manly, tough guy, and I go to therapy every week, and it really helps me. It can help you too. So thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video, and hit the link in the video description to check it out for yourself. Hey everyone, welcome to a 3-year-old press car. This is, as far as I know,
This is new old stock.
It says 2019 on the key.
Oh
this
man,
is
still special.
This is a car that we are driving, I presume, because the McLaren Arturas aren't quite ready, and they wanted to throw us a bone. Because did you know that McLaren still has a 2019 Senna press car in their fleet? How interesting. One of the oldest press cars I've ever heard of that's not in like what you'd call a classic collection or something like that.
I feel like it's such an important car to them that
Sure.
they had to keep one that they will be bringing out for years to come to press launches, to events, stuff like that.
Probably. Well, as you can see on the sill plate down here, it's number 0 of 500. So it is a pre-production car, so maybe it could or couldn't be sold anyway. So might as well lend it to folks like us. This car has 7,800 miles on it, which I imagine is one of the higher mileage Sennas out there. There's probably one nut driving one daily with 35,000 miles, but aside from that, I'm guessing these things don't see that many miles. But I've never driven one. You've never driven one until today, and so why squander an opportunity like that? The Senna was at the time the most extreme, compromise-free car that McLaren could build.
Yeah, they
while
basically
still being road legal.
Right, they wanted to build a track-focused car that could drive itself to the track. You don't need a trailer, but barely.
Right, McLaren says street legal, but not street suitable. And that is as true and dry a British statement as there ever was.
I love the honesty there. I really do.
I drove this thing 50 miles last night through LA, cruising Hollywood at night, and I got back exhausted. Like, I haven't been that tired driving a car in the city since like my Countach on a hot day. There's a lot of cars that make daily use easy and simple. This does not.
I mean, just as we're sitting here at idle, this is like sitting in an iron factory in terms of noise. We haven't even started moving yet, so just the sensory input you're getting from the sound is going to be tiring.
There is no sound deadening at all in the car. There's a bare carbon fiber tub, and the engine is right there. I'm sure you've heard the specs. This car's been around for a while, but 789 horsepower, 590 pound-feet of torque from the 4-liter twin-turbo V8. I suspect the same exact engine is in the 765 LT.
Probably. This is the 720 engine, but it has different cams, a different intake, a snorkel, and of course, like a tune.
Right. The brakes on this were highly experimental at the time. They're halfway between a road-going carbon ceramic rotor and a full-on race carbon ceramic rotor. They last longer. They handle way more heat. They stop this thing like crazy. 765 LT also gets these brakes optionally. And they took months to make. Physically, they bake the discs for months.
It's like making a diamond in a lab.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And the front and rear brake rotors are the same size, 15.4 inches, no stagger. 0 to 60 as measured by car and driver, 2.8, which for any rear drive car is very impressive. Quarter mile, 10.1 at 147.
Yeah.
147 in the quarter is moving.
Well, that's only a tenth behind a Veyron Super Sport.
Right.
And it actually has a higher trap speed. So it's pulling harder at the end, which is crazy.
The maximum downforce in race mode is 754 pounds at 155 miles an hour. Race mode is up here, and we can't even really use it on the street because it lowers the car an inch and a half further than its standard already low suspension, and I'm actually concerned we will break it if I use that.
But what if the car doesn't feel fast on the street, Matthew?
Right.
Then can't I hit the race mode?
Right.
I would like to win the Instagram.
This very car, this blue car, is the production car record holder at Laguna Seca. Randy did a 127 in this car, which of course is ridiculously impressive until you think about the 118 that Andy Prio did in the Valkyrie with me in the car. Which we believe might be the fastest passenger lap ever recorded.
I feel like that gives more credit to the Valkyrie and how crazy that is.
Oh yeah, that's a race car. That's just a race car. Double wishbone suspension with the Race Active Chassis Control 2 adaptive, crazy, multi-linked sway bar setup, right? 500 units total build of the Senna, but then you've got 75 units of the GTR, a few more of the LM, and there's some other...
There'll be some special editions.
There's some trickery going on with the numbers,
right.
but fewer than 600 total cars made. It is a very special car, and this one has optional lower glass doors. I didn't know those were actually optional.
Yeah, it adds 7 pounds.
I thought they were standard.
So if you're not an actual race car driver, you would get these. But
hated them
pounds.
Until I drove the car around the city, and it really does lighten up the cabin. It really makes it feel brighter and airier, and I actually think it's a great idea. Also, no cost stereo and air conditioning. You definitely want the air conditioning because these windows are the smallest since the Countach.
Wow.
You will cook in here. The radio is utterly worthless.
Yeah.
It's impossible to hear. Also, according to Car and Driver, this is the loudest car in the cabin that they have tested this millennium. There was a Ferrari that was louder by 1 decibel.
Jeez.
But this is the 102 decibels at wide open throttle.
So we're going to do what we can with the audio.
Yeah, audio is going to be tough. It's loud.
Having
Also,
a spec's important.
optional. Did you see this, Zach?
Yes.
This is the beverage system.
Yes.
No cup holders.
The push to drink.
Push to drink, and then you can release the bottle like this.
So if you're, track
Here's
day,
your
you can
bottle.
run a tube into your helmet, and this is $6,700.
If you thought a Yeti was expensive, wait till you see what they've done at McLaren. Right, so we will activate race chassis control. I'm going to go in my favorite mode for this car, which is Sport Powertrain Comfort Chassis. These modes, these drive modes, really start where the 720 leaves off.
I think you're in backwards right now. You're in sport.
Sport?
You're in comfort powertrain.
Oh, I messed up my knobs. That's correct. I hit I was messed up there. Yeah, comfort chassis, sport powertrain. Like I said, leaves. It takes off where the 720 leaves off. So even comfort mode in this car is really as firm and as aggressive as race mode in the 720. So, off we go, children. And there's the killer bees. You are being chased by the Africanized killer bees. And here we go. Whoa! Oh, there is a big number.
Wow.
when you put the hammer down, you can feel the P0 Trofeo tires do battle with the tarmac. It fights them for grip. And if the road is a little bit bumpy, it skips across them like a speedboat, like an offshore powerboat, where
so
just
good.
the prop is in the water. It's like that.
And then when you hit the brakes, there's no dive.
Right.
Because that arrow's working so hard at that speed. And that's why that has the even discs front and rear. It just went down evenly and just slowed.
Well, plus you have the air brake,
Which
right?
helps press
That
down that
massive
back.
wing pops up and acts as an air brake, and so it helps to resist the dive under braking, keeping that car very flat. There's no insulation on the wheel wells either, so you can really hear that gravel getting thrown up.
On the underside of our doors, there's shredded carbon from the gravel hitting it over all these miles.
Well, every time you open the door, rocks pour out of it. It sounds like a rain stick. That's my second rain stick reference in 2 videos. Steering, just like all the other McLarens, excellent hydraulic, precise. It's very difficult to go full throttle on a road like this, except I will here. The brake pedal effort is really high. Because this new material, it's a little different, and until it gets heated up, you really got to stomp on the pedal. Wow.
If you look in this car, you see these seats and you go, those are a weird idea, until you ride around one corner and you realize you absolutely want as much side support as possible.
Yeah, and actually they're kind of clunky to get in and out of, but once you're in the seat, shockingly comfortable.
Pretty good, and they tailor it to you when you order the car, so they'll size it for you.
This thing is bonsai.
Wow, it's so loud.
Yeah, there's really very little rubber in the mounts, right?
Oh,
so
yeah,
they want to have max rigidity and also max fizz, max sensation. So they pretty much bolt the engine right to the chassis.
Bond it with carbon fiber. I mean, this is a no compromise vehicle, and it looks it. And I know that the design of this car has been somewhat controversial, but.
Sorry, what was that? So many rattles and buzzes. It's to the point, like when you have these cars that are basically like race cars in terms of the lack of sound deadening, it almost feels like it's cheap, because that insulation adds refinement, and when you take that refinement away, it almost feels cheap. How's the turning radius? But it's actually more expensive to do that.
Much more.
So the turning radius itself is decent, but the overhangs, the overhangs are really long. So you have to be very, very careful.
It's diving board on the front.
Yeah, and it has nose lift, but it's slow and it's awful. It takes forever. You have to be going straight. You have to be going slow. You have to have your seatbelt buckled, which I would if I'm driving, but when I'm maneuvering around a parking lot, maybe not.
What's strange, you also have to be pointed straight when you want to adjust the handling setup.
Yeah,
which
weird.
is also it's the only car I can think of that has that feature.
It's weird. And, a 911 is just like blip, blip, whatever you want. But so you have to compromise for it. It won't come to you.
Right.
All right. Zach will have a go up the hill. Oh, and by the way, if you don't tell people how to get out of it, they have no idea. The door handles, the window switches, the start button, and the AC
the fan control.
I couldn't
find that earlier.
Yes, are up here. And the reason they do that, they put these controls up here, and the shifter controls move with the seat. And the reason they do that is so that if you're harnessed in with a Hans,
right, you want to be able to do things.
Any driver of any height can reach stuff.
Because if you've ever tightened your harnesses on like a track day at a street car, and the seat's bolted down, and then you've tried to operate anything like a stereo or a window or climate control, you're stuck.
One thing that I really love about this car is what they've done with these door struts. They've redesigned them so that they're a quarter the size of the 720 door struts, even though they provide exactly the same function. And apparently the reason they moved them in a way that they have to be in the cabin with you doesn't bother me at all. Actually, it's kind of cool.
Well, if it's a shorter lever, it has to be closer to the pivot point.
Right.
But yeah, it's really cool. The little orange accent, McLaren orange, of course.
Yeah. Orange accents are good. Orange McLarens, bad. This car is actually quite attractive in this blue color, the darker colors, the gray, the black. Orange.
Full orange is aggressive. You gotta really love the race team.
It's real aggressive.
Orange on anything.
All right. Well.
Oh, it's so telepathic.
Yeah, no.
God.
Surgical. Totally surgical.
And like the 720S already feels very, very precise. And then you get in this and you go, oh, that other thing, that was a bus.
Yeah.
That was made of soup. This is just so hard and focused. But they're so good at the suspension that it smooths out this road pretty well. I mean, it's like that little junction didn't even do anything. It's so amazing.
Yeah, but like that magic carpet thing that the 720 does, this doesn't do that.
This doesn't do, but this doesn't have to. This will lap Estoril 6 seconds faster than a 720.
Yeah.
So after like a full session, you have lapped a car.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Shifts are so good. These paddles are my favorite in the industry. Their shifter feel,
Yeah.
I really think is the best.
Especially if you've got a cup of coffee
I can't hear
in one hand.
I mean, this feels so race car.
Yeah.
It feels so electric in like its response time. And the grip is crazy. And of course there's the brakes. So we'll slow down for these brakes.
This pace would normally terrify me, but I'm actually all right.
Right? Because it just makes it
You know
feel
there's no
easy.
shit handle?
You just press your hand against the glass like Rose in Titanic. So this car stops from 62 in like 97 feet,
Yeah.
which is only a foot shorter than the 720S. And this is on Trofeo Rs, and that's on PS4s. But where it kicks in is if you double the speed.
Yeah.
This stops 50 feet shorter.
Yeah.
And I'm not a tire expert, so I found some online. And the PS4 actually beat the Trofeo R in a braking test out of 10 tires. The PS4 got like third. But when it came to lateral grip, these tires got first.
Yeah.
So it has magic brakes, and it all really comes into play at high speed. Okay. Back.
Apparently you could hit the brakes at the front straight of Estoril. You could hit the brakes 82 feet later in this than a 720.
That is amazing. You are winning all the apexes.
Wow,
Look at the front.
that tight.
Yeah, that was incredible.
That was decreasing.
You didn't think it was gonna make it.
No.
And you're right, like the windows in the door, it's so bright in here, it's really nice. You know, so many of these cars, like, especially when they get ordered with a black interior,
Yeah.
it just feels like you're just in a mailbox looking
Yeah.
out the front and just racing something.
And at night on Hollywood Boulevard, you get a real like color changing glow.
Yeah.
It's almost like street glow.
Yeah, and I mean, just if I was a passenger, like if you're a kid and you get to ride in one of these and you see the road and everything, it's just, it all adds to the experience. Abandoned truck. Oh my God. Right?
It's so loud.
So loud. Oh, sorry to everybody's speakers.
I'm gonna have such a headache.
Yeah. Welcome to tinnitus. Oh my God, it's so good. And the brake
literally-
pedal almost feels manual.
Yeah.
It's so rigid at the top.
It's designed to
Woo!
be listened to through a helmet.
Yeah, from like 40 miles away.
Oh my
He's pulling
God.
the shade
So
here.
this thing is bananas. But here's the thing. It's 3 years old, and a lot of the best stuff about it is in the 765 LT. The brakes, the power, right? Some of the suspension upgrades, the lightweight wheels. That stuff has made it to the 765 LT.
That's trickle-down economics, man.
It is. On the road, I think these cars are the same pace.
Oh, in terms of driving quickly?
In terms of pace, yeah. Pace. I think on the road, these are the same pace. I think that the extra things that this does over the 765 LT can only be experienced on a racetrack and can only be experienced at very, very high speeds where downforce is really coming to play.
I agree in terms of exploring the actual pace and the capabilities. I think this delivers a very different driving experience.
Yeah.
Some of that's the noise, but I can feel the weight reduction. I feel like they've sharpened things up a little bit.
Sure.
So it does feel a little different on the road, but in terms of speed, I totally agree with you.
And also, the 765 LT has the short gears, which this doesn't have.
That's true.
So, actually, in terms of the acceleration in this is explosive, but not as explosive as the 765 LT, which really wants to rip the tires off the pavement,
right.
even in fourth and fifth. In second and third gear, it's about the same. In fourth and fifth gear, the 765 actually feels like it pulls noticeably harder.
That's true. And we were on a recent straightaway. We were in a certain gear, and I was actually surprised at how gently it was accelerating, because I think the last McLaren we drove was the 765 LT.
Which is batshit in every gear.
Right.
So actually at the Hypercar Invitational, which was a pretty cool event, I met a lot of Senna owners and all tracking their cars, so good for them. There are owners out there tracking their cars, one of whom I had a lengthy discussion with about his search for a 765 LT gearbox for his Senna.
That's crazy.
Because once he drove the LT, he went, oh, well that pulls so much harder. And so he's trying to source and swap.
Oh my gosh.
It's $30,000 just for the gearbox, and then whatever it costs to swap it in. But it's a direct replacement. It will work. And so I think that's interesting. And if you have a Senna, you may want to consider such a thing. So
plus, let's remember the 765 LT you can get in a Spider, so you can get the drop top capability, a little bit more airflow than what we have going here.
You can use that as a regular car. This doesn't have a trunk at all. There's no trunk, so you can't even get groceries. I mean, supposedly you can fit a helmet back here.
You could transport one Tillamook cheese brick.
So, has this car aged well in 3 years? Well, it's definitely still relevant. It's definitely still crazy and fast and fun. I don't know if the styling has stuck to me, but it's certainly brutalist functional. The windows, you have to experience to appreciate.
I mean, the styling, like, aesthetically, I still think this car looks very weird.
It does look
from
weird.
Every angle, it looks strange.
But it's striking.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that is a very good, nice way to put it.
Yeah.
It is very striking because, the 765 is so subtle to look at. But you have to respect what it is capable of and what it was meant to do, I think.
And I do respect those things, and it is wild, and it is equally wild that McLaren still has one in their fleet.
Hey, good on them.
Yeah, so
good
shout out to McLaren for letting us have a go for a day. This is a wild ride, and I'm glad we got to add to its high mileage tally.
Yeah,
number 0 doesn't exist anyway. Who cares? Thanks to you guys for watching, and we'll see you later.
And remember, always fight your tickets. Use code TST10 on the Off the Record app available in the Android and iOS store, or go to offtherecord.com/TST.